Welcome to the Running Library. Today we're breaking down the key ideas from Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Let's get into it. Leadership isn't primarily about being the smartest person in the room. It's about making people feel safe enough to do their best work, even when things get hard. That's the central argument of Simon Sinek's book, Leaders Eat Last. And if you've ever worked on a team where everyone was guarding their back, hoarding credit, or quietly updating their resume, this book will feel uncomfortably familiar. Leaders Eat Last is about why some groups of people cooperate naturally, trust each other, and perform under pressure, while other groups, with the same talent on paper, fall into politics, fear, and burnout. Sinek's big idea is that great leadership creates what he calls a circle of safety, an environment where people feel protected from internal threats like humiliation, scapegoating, and career sabotage, so they can focus their energy on external threats like competitors, deadlines, and real problems. At a high level, the book blends stories from the military and business with accessible biology and psychology. Sinek talks about how human beings are wired for belonging and cooperation, and how good leaders intentionally shape the conditions that make trust and collaboration more likely. It's less a book of tactics and more a book of principles about culture, responsibility, and the long game. So who is this for? If you manage people, lead a team, or want to, this is for you. If you're an individual contributor who wants to understand why your workplace feels healthy or toxic, it's also for you because it gives you language to describe what's going on. It's especially useful if you're building culture. A startup founder, a department head, a project lead, or someone trying to rebuild morale after change. Who might not like it? If you want a tight, step-by-step management playbook, this isn't that. If you dislike leadership books that use stories and big themes more than frameworks and spreadsheets, you may find it repetitive at times. And if you're looking for a book that says winning is everything, Sinek is very much arguing the opposite, that how you win and what it costs your people matters more than you think. Now let's get into 6 key takeaways with practical examples you can recognize in real workplaces. First takeaway, the real job of a leader is to create safety, not just results. Sinek's circle of safety is the heart of the book. In a strong culture, people don't spend their day protecting themselves from each other. They don't fear being punished for raising a concern. They don't assume that admitting a mistake will end their career. They feel safe enough to be honest. Example, think about 2 teams facing the same missed deadline. On one team, the manager immediately asks, "Who messed this up?" People go silent, blame shifts, and next time everyone hides problems until it's too late. On the other team, the leader asks, "What did we miss in the process, and what do you need from me to fix it?" Same problem, completely different outcome. One approach trains fear, the other trains learning. Sinek's point is that safety isn't softness, it's a performance strategy. When people feel safe, they share bad news sooner, ask for help faster, and take smart risks, because the team has their back. Second takeaway, biology drives behavior. Culture either activates trust or triggers self-preservation. Sinek spends time explaining that our brains are constantly scanning for danger and belonging. In environments that feel supportive, we're more likely to cooperate, be generous, and think long-term. In environments that feel threatening, we shift into self-protection, politics, short-term thinking, and every person for themselves. Example, you've probably seen this during reorganizations or layoffs. The moment people think they might be next, collaboration collapses. Information stops flowing, people start managing impressions instead of doing the work. Even high performers get cautious. It's not because they suddenly became bad employees, it's because the environment told them it wasn't safe. The leadership lesson is simple but demanding. If you want teamwork, you have to build conditions that make teamwork rational. You can't demand trust while designing a system that rewards internal competition and fear. Third takeaway, trust is built through small, consistent acts, not big speeches. One of the most practical messages in Leaders Eat Last is that trust isn't a poster on the wall. It's what people conclude after watching what you do repeatedly. Example, a leader says, "My door is always open," but when someone brings a problem, the leader gets annoyed, interrupts, or later uses that information against them. That open door promise becomes meaningless. Compare that to a leader who regularly says, "Thank you for telling me early," even when the news is bad. Over time, people learn. Honesty is safe here. Trust also shows up in credit and blame. When things go well, do you name the team? When things go wrong, do you absorb pressure and protect your people while you fix the system? Those moments are the real culture. Fourth takeaway. Leadership is a responsibility to sacrifice, especially when it's inconvenient. The title, Leaders Eat Last, comes from the idea that in healthy groups, leaders take care of others first, not because it's cute, but because it signals something powerful. You matter and I'm responsible for you. That signal creates loyalty, and loyalty creates resilience. Example. In many workplaces, a leader takes the best opportunities, the best schedule, the best information, and the best protection, while the team absorbs the risk. That might work for a quarter or two, but it builds quiet resentment. In contrast, think of a leader who takes the heat from upper management so the team can keep working, or who gives a high visibility presentation slot to a team member who did the work. Those are small sacrifices that tell people this isn't a pyramid scheme of stress. Sinek's argument isn't that leaders should be martyrs, it's that leadership is not a rank, it's a choice to put the group's well-being alongside the mission. Fifth takeaway, beware performance at all costs cultures. They create internal enemies. A major theme in the book is that organisations often obsess over external competition while accidentally creating internal competition that's far more damaging. When people feel like their co-workers are threats to their status, bonuses, promotions, or job security, the organisation becomes its own worst enemy. Example of ours. Consider a sales organisation that celebrates top performers but humiliates or discards anyone who falls behind. On paper it looks like high standards. In reality it often produces corner cutting, toxic rivalries, and a constant churn of talent. People start optimising for survival, stealing accounts, hiding leads, or sacrificing long-term customer trust for short-term numbers. Sinek would say the leader's job is to keep the competition outside the building. Inside, it should feel like a team. High standards can coexist with human dignity, but only if leaders protect people from being treated as disposable. Sixth takeaway, strong cultures play the long game. Relationships are the strategy. Leaders Eat Last is fundamentally a long-term book. Sinek emphasises that trust and loyalty take time, and that short-term wins can be the enemy of long-term health. The best organisations aren't just efficient, they're durable. They can take a hit and still function because people don't abandon each other at the first sign of trouble. Example, if a company hits a rough quarter and the first move is panic cuts, pressure tactics and blame, employees learn that the organisation will trade them for a spreadsheet. Next time, employees will trade the organisation for a slightly better offer. The relationship becomes transactional, but if leaders communicate honestly, share the burden, and show they're making decisions with people in mind, not just numbers, employees are more likely to stay engaged through uncertainty. They may not love the situation, but they'll trust the intent. And trust is what keeps teams coordinated when things are messy. Now, how do you actually apply this without turning it into vague, be nicer advice? Here's a simple 3-step action plan you can start this week, whether you're a manager or an informal leader. Step 1. Audit safety. Identify the internal threats your people feel. Ask yourself, what are people afraid of in this environment? Is it public embarrassment, Is it being punished for bad news? Is it being labelled not a team player for setting boundaries? Is it layoffs? Is it favouritism? If you lead a team, you can ask directly in a one-on-one, what makes it hard to do your best work here? Or, when do you hesitate to speak up? You're not fishing for compliments, you're mapping fear. Then pick one internal threat you can reduce. Maybe it's how meetings are run, maybe it's how mistakes are handled, maybe it's unclear priorities that force people into constant triage. Step 2. Make one visible sacrifice that signals I'm responsible for you. This doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be real and seen. Examples. Take responsibility upward when a project slips instead of naming and shaming. Give credit publicly to the person who did the work. Protect focus time by pushing back on unnecessary meetings. Share information earlier than you have to because secrecy breeds anxiety. The point is to send a signal that your role isn't to extract performance, it's to enable it. Step 3. Build a trust routine. Small, repeatable behaviours that compound. Choose 2 or 3 behaviours you can do consistently. Start meetings by clarifying priorities so people aren't guessing what matters. End one-on-ones by asking, what do you need from me? When someone brings a problem, respond with curiosity first, not judgment. When you make a mistake, admit it quickly so others learn that honesty is safe. These routines feel almost boring, and that's why they work. Trust is built in the ordinary moments, not the heroic ones. As we wrap up, here's the lasting value of Leaders Eat Last. It reframes leadership from a position to a promise that the people around you won't be left alone when the pressure rises, that their dignity isn't conditional on perfect performance, that the team is a place where courage is possible because safety exists. You don't build that with slogans, you build it with choices, especially the choices that cost you something: time, comfort, ego, or credit. If you take one idea from this book, take this. When people feel safe among each other, they'll take on the world together. When they don't, they'll spend all their energy fighting battles inside the organisation, and no strategy can outwork that. If you enjoyed this breakdown, this is the Running Library, where we pull practical ideas from books worth your time. And if you want, tell me the best leader you've ever worked for. What did they do that made you feel safe, trusted, and ready to do your best work? If you found this summary helpful, subscribe to the Running Library for new insights every day, and tell me in the comments what book or article you want next.